should not be valued based on what other people want, what other people think about that life. Because we don't do that with one people. So the question then still goes back to what is it to be a kill of the woman? Next. This woman, another with a story, then Penny Woodrow. She was faced with a difficult decision. Her boyfriend told her that he would leave if she didn't choose, or she had to choose between her boyfriend and her child. Penny had already been divorced and didn't want another man to lead her life. And so when she was faced with that choice, I'm sure we can sympathize. She didn't want someone precious in her life to leave. She didn't want to be abandoned again. She was feeling hopeless. She was feeling that her life was falling apart. In fact, her daughter and her were arguing a lot at this time. So her family life wasn't very good. And so she had a choice. She could choose to do something in that situation. Do you have the video ready? The CBC one. So she had a choice of what to do. This video clip shows what she did. I'm going to turn this down on here. Please do.
She wept at the courthouse, where those who loved Carissa gathered, their emotions still raw.
Crocodile tears, and that's all it's ever been, and that's all it ever will be.
12-year-old Carissa lived with her mother and her mother's boyfriend, Vernon McCumber. But the court heard there was tension. Mother and daughter argued a lot. McCumber told Boudreaux, pick Carissa or him.
Certainly no suggestion at all that he ever intended or could contemplate that Penny Boudreaux would do what she did.
What she did was unthinkable.
Penny Boudreaux drove her daughter to this dirt road just outside of town. When Carissa got out of the car, her mother tackled her, pinned her to the ground, putting her knees on her chest. And while the two were face to face, she put a piece of twine around her daughter's neck and began strangling her. Her daughter's last words were, "Mommy, don't."
Boudreaux put Carissa's body back in the car, drove into town, and removed some of her daughter's clothing. She then dumped her body along this riverbank to make it look like a sexual assault. Then she went to the police and the public to plead for help to find her missing child.
Where you are, almost or tall or something.
It would be days before Carissa's frozen body would be found, and months before Boudreaux would admit to undercover police she killed Carissa, that she did what she had to do. An emotional judge told the court Boudreaux had a selfish desire to guarantee a love life that had no room for a child. Justice Margaret Stewart said, "You can never call yourself mother in conjunction with Carissa's name again." The sentence: life in prison, no parole for 20 years. A plea bargain allowed the family to avoid a lengthy, painful trial in a case that still affects so many.
You know, right? She's a kid. So.
Outside, onlookers wanted more.
An eye for an eye, tooth for tooth.
How, they asked, could a mother give her child's life and take it away, too? Tom with CBC News, Bridgewater, Nova Scotia.
We sympathize with Penny. We sympathize with the choice she was forced to make. We sympathize with her life. Of course we can. Of course, everything that she was going through, we can sympathize with. We feel for her. That all of this was going through justify what she did. That's what it is. When it comes to abortion, there are a lot of difficult situations. We recognize that. And we see that there's a lot of difficult things that people have to deal with, that women have to deal with. But if the unborn are human beings, then does those situations justify taking their lives? See, in terms of dehumanizing rhetoric, that's what we've done. We recognize right away that born people have these values. Carissa was valuable as a human being, a member of this province, this community, a member of someone who was valuable just because she was her. The problem is that we treat the unborn as if they're not members of our society, and it's not unthinkable to take their lives away. My suggestion is that in terms of what's going on, they are human beings just like us. Excellent. Thirdly, a systematic nature of killings. Remember what constitutes genocide? Well, when you look at abortion, there's definitely a system that exists. Just to answer your question earlier, let's keep going. In Canada today, there is no law on abortion. Even the most liberal Western democracies in Europe have laws limiting abortion later in pregnancy. Canada does not have a law. Justice Berkeley Wilson, who sat in the Supreme Court and legalized abortion in 1988, actually said this: the precise point of the development of the fetus in which the state's interest in protection becomes compelling should be left to the informed judgment of the legislature, which is in a position to receive submissions on the subject of all relevant disciplines. In other words, when the Supreme Court of Canada struck down the abortion law, they didn't say let's have no law at all. They